Zoomer Radio, AM 740, downtown Toronto, FM 96.7, Manfred Man, doo-wah, diddy-diddy. Happy gang here. A lot of stuff going on the station today. A lot of stuff starts today. For example, today is day one of the 925 Workday Payday. We'll play you a song just before the 9 o'clock news. That's the first of three you've got to keep track of today that could win you $740 in cash tomorrow. So details just before the 9 o'clock news on that. Today is the first day that Eva D. joins Norm Edwards on the Afternoon Express, coming up at 2 o'clock after the number ones at 1. And today is also our first day of Celebrity Guest Host Palooza here in the studio on the Happy Gang. And Ron James is joining us here this morning. Thanks for doing this today.
Yeah,
well, thanks very much.
Great.
You know, it's nice to get up early and feel productive.
We do a full day's work by 10 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly.
We were talking about the shows that you're doing in Guelph, right? October the 13th
October
and 14th?
13th and 14th. I taped my 9th special. And then I'm on the road all across the Canadian West, the snowy West. Woke up in Red Deer the other day. I drove through a blizzard to get to Calgary. Just living the Canadian showbiz dream.
Woo!
And, you know, the snow was so thick I couldn't see my hand in front of my face, and I was in the car. So there's boom, boom. You should have a rim shot thing here.
I need to. That would blow the sound effects budget, though.
But
listen, we were talking before because there's stuff that is becoming a part of your act that is. I mean, you and I were talking about it off the air. Right. I feel like maybe you're taking a bit of a risk as a comic. Talk to me about what you're doing.
I lost my dad this past summer, and you know, nothing. And he was my friend as well as my father. And you know, people say, "Where does the funny come from?" Well, it came from him. And you know, so many buddies that I grew up with in my neighborhood showed up at the wake, and you know, there were lineups going right out from his casket to the parking lot. And all these, he was just really, really funny. And he understood its purpose as an adhesive to, and a Band-Aid, more or less, to the vicissitudes of life. And, I mean, he was a Newfoundlander, right? He was born to a world of Hobbesian drudgery in the early 30s when life was short and seagulls were supper. I mean, he was a runt of a litter of 10 on the southwest coast of Newfoundland. He was born when my grandmother was gutting fish at the wharf and squirted him into a rubber boot. So, you know, right? So he came from a Neolithic existence, really. And, but he made a house a home, right? And he worked hard on it. And, but as he began to fade, my role changed, right? And the whole paradigm shifted and I think a lot of baby boomers are coming into this reality that suddenly the parents are the children and you're the caregivers.
Yes. And
there's so many caregivers out in the world that are flying below the radar and they don't get that any red carpet treatment. I just want to tip my hat to them because it's a gig that's absolutely 24/7. And, you know, there's nothing that makes mortality's reality put the rubber to the road, quite like strapping a diaper on your dad. Yeah. And I said to him, "Here, let me get this diaper up." He was in the wheelchair, and he said, "Jesus, Ronnie, come on, buddy. It's shorts. It's shorts." Yeah, it's not a diaper. Just because I'm in a wheelchair doesn't mean I can't take you.
Right? Nice.
Right? But he was always funny, and he saw the humor in the darkness too. He was. His sister has Alzheimer's, his older sister, and he said, "Ronnie, if I get Alzheimer's, I'm going to take a walk in the woods." And I said, "Dad, if you get Alzheimer's, I'll drive you."
Yeah.
But he always got it, you know. He always understood what the role of laughs were and to see him and my mother sit at one of my shows and enjoy themselves. You know, when I'm doing a bit about not touching the canvas walls of the tent trailer when I was 12 years old, right? You know, now they call it ADHD. Back then they called it, holy Jesus, there's something wrong with him.
But I mean, as a comic, do you get to a place where, I mean, you're thinking about doing, I mean, there's, how do I say this? Serious comedy. You're doing comedy about a serious subject. Yeah. Do you wonder, as a comic, are you sitting there thinking to yourself, you know, God, I hope they laugh at this?
Well, it's thin ice, yes. Yeah, but you got to take those chances because... you know, that's where the rubies lie, right?
Well, we've all, you know, most of us in this age group are there, have been there, are going to be there, and we need some levity.
Yeah, absolutely
and we're
you do.
like you're sharing an experience.
Well, that's the whole point of comedy, is to get everybody on the same page, because as the world gets increasingly fractured, the rules of stand-up are pretty simple: get laughs or get off.
Yeah.
But then it's like Billy Connolly said, what's the intention? What's the intention behind the joke? And I always wanted people to be leaving my show with feeling a heck of a lot lighter than when they went in, because it's our job to carry the knapsack for a while. But you have to reflect and you have to draw on those experiences you're having in real life. Like baby boomers are getting T-boned at the crossroads of midlife, man. We're all breaking down. You just take a walk across the kitchen floor to get the butter in the fridge and your knee goes out. I was running for years. It turns out all the running I was doing was actually killing me. I went to the I went to the doctor and he said, "Look, you've got a torn meniscus. Your injury is typical of aging athletes." I said, "Athlete? I got 7 goals in 10 years playing Halifax minor hockey, and 6 were on my own net." Right? No, it's true. There's every single day there's something. I started growing a lump in my chin, and of course I made the leap. Oh, great, tumor. Now I'll never get the scratch bath with Beyonce off my bucket list. So I go into the doctor's, and he said, "Look, you've got a benign cyst on your chin. You have to accept the fact you're 58 years old. Stuff is going to start growing on your face." Oh, bonus. Something else to look forward to. Something else is... But
I'm supposed to be pushing a button and I can't.
It just never stops, right? Ever stops. So you have to embrace the good with the bad. And for me, having people laughing at our fractures and at our inabilities makes us all realize that we're all, we're all on the same journey. And speaking of that journey, I lost my dad this summer. And at the age of 85. And he was a remarkable cat, and I owe him everything. And I owe him my sense of humor.
Yeah.
And he had it right up until the end. I have to tell you, the night before he passed away, I went in to see him at the hospital, and I'd driven my mother and sister home, who were round-the-clock caregivers too. They were tired, and so I said, "Look, I'm going to go back, see how he's doing." It was the first night we put him in palliative care, and he had his back to me, and there was just this beautiful young nurse who had just given him a catheter, right?
Oh, dear.
And I walked around to his side of the bed, and he goes, "Ronnie, am I ever happy to see you? Look what this good-looking young nurse just picked up for me at Canadian Tire." Now, that is understanding the purpose of the mystery.
There you go.
Right? That's it. He got it. And I got it as a result of the life he gave me. So that's a tip of the hat to him wherever he is.
17 minutes after 9 o'clock. That's Ron James. It's Toronto traffic time right now. Here's Captain Frank.
It's a problem on that eastbound QEW, Toronto-bound QEW.